My wife proposed to me 52 times before I finally agreed to marry her. On our engagement day, I said to Shen Yu, from now on, I'll do my best to be a good husband to you, for richer or poorer, in sickness and in health. I will never betray you. There's just one thing, you have to remember this. I will absolutely not tolerate any form of deceit. If you lie to me, I will disappear forever. After we got married, Shen Yu loved me as if I were her life, but when she prepared a 10th anniversary gift for me, I didn't feel surprised at all. I just coldly told her, it was the day before yesterday. Shen Yu looked up. What? Our wedding anniversary was the day before yesterday. After saying that, I glanced at the cake. Its surface was decorated with crushed peanuts. I found it laughable. Besides, I'm allergic to peanuts. Hearing this, Shen Yu's expression changed slightly, but her face remained as cold as usual. She cleared away the cake, her face showing a hint of apology. Then she took a square box out of her bag and gave it to me. I'm sorry, I've been on too many business trips lately. I forgot. I'll be more careful next time. Even though the anniversary has passed, I still have to give you your gift. I opened the box to look. As expected, it was another star-shaped necklace. We've been married for 5 years. Every time she gives me a gift, it's always star-shaped. Star rings, star earrings, star models. At first, I asked Shen Yu why. At the time, she said it was because she likes stars, but I later learned that she gave me star-shaped gifts, not because she likes stars, but because of her first love, Henzimo. What she loved was never the stars, but the man named Henzimo. Seeing that I accepted the gift, Shen Yu thought I had believed her words. She added, we missed it this year. Next year, I'll make it up to you with a grand anniversary. After speaking, she turned and went into the bathroom. She didn't notice that I was standing not far away, silently watching her back as she left. I whispered softly, there's no need, Shen Yu. We done have a next year. I've already decided to divorce you. Just then, the phone rang. I looked down. It was a call from my boss. Zihan, have you really decided to move abroad? I nodded. Yes, I've made my decision. As I spoke, I became lost in memories. A year ago, the company established an overseas branch and needed to hire a resident director. My boss thought highly of my abilities and offered me the position many times, stressing that this was a rare opportunity and telling me I had to go. But because of Shen Yu, I refused, because I had promised before that I would never abandon her. Shen Yu and I were neighbors since childhood. You could say we were childhood sweethearts. Growing up together, during elementary school, Shen Yu's parents often argued and were never home year-round. They didn't care about her at all. That was when I entered Shen Yu's life. The day her parents divorced, both chose to start new families. Neither of them wanted her anymore, a child not yet 8 years old. Her face calm as she watched the two of them drag their suitcases and walk away. She didn't say a single word to keep them. She just sat alone on the stairs, reading a book. It was I who approached her with a smile. Hey little sister, my dad made sweet and sour ribs today. I can't finish it all. Can you come over to my house and help me eat some? The first time, she refused. But she couldn't stand my persistent pestering. From the initial sweet and sour ribs to later boiled fish and braised shrimp in oil, I pulled her to my house for one meal after another. During that period of teenage abandonment, I was by her side, getting through it day by day. Then we went to university together. It was also at that time that she met Henzimo. One was the genius beauty of the medical department. The other was the handsome, wealthy idol of the dance department. When they dated, they were known as the most well-matched couple. Moreover, they were the golden couple in the eyes of the teachers. But after graduating from university, Henzimo, wanting to pursue his dream, ignored Shen Yu's pleas and decided to go abroad. She was abandoned once again, and this time too, I was by her side. That night, she was dead drunk. The usually proud and self-respecting woman clung tightly to my waist with red eyes, asking, am I not good enough? Why does everyone want to abandon me? My heart tightened, suppressing the hurt. I stroked her hair. You still have me. I'm still here. I will never abandon Shen Yu. She looked up slightly. Before I could react, she suddenly lifted her head and kissed me. As soon as the kiss ended, my face turned bright red, and she buried her face in my neck, whispering softly, Zihan, you have a crush on me, don't you? From today onwards, I will forget Henzimo. Will you be my boyfriend? My wish of many years was finally granted. I couldn't bring myself to say the 2 words no. After that, she kept her promise. Indeed, she never mentioned Henzimo again. We also got along very well. From dating to proposing, we moved step by step towards marriage. For the past 5 years, she has kept that promise well. She never mentioned Henzimo again, and was very good to me. It once made me think she had really forgotten Henzimo. Until that day, I posted a status update about wanting to see the aurora borealis. But since Shen Yu is a doctor with a busy schedule, I knew it would be hard for her to find the time. So I didn't mention it to her. A few days before our anniversary, I happened to see plane tickets to Iceland in her drawer. At that moment, I even thought that she had seen my status update and had specially prepared a surprise gift for our anniversary. So I deliberately pretended not to know. waiting for her to give me that surprise herself. But the night before our anniversary, she left me with "I have a business trip these days," then left with the plane tickets. I was a bit surprised at the time. Until that day, I saw a status that Henzimo posted, "Watching the aurora with you one more time, and then going home with you." The attached photo was the back of a woman. Although it was a bit blurry, I still recognized who it was immediately. It was Shen Yuchu, the one who said she was on a business trip. That's when I noticed that on the day I posted my status, Henzimo had also posted that he wanted to see the aurora one more time. Before returning to the country, I finally understood. It turned out that surprise gift wasn't for me. It turned out that moonlight in her heart, which she never mentioned for 5 years, she had also never forgotten. In that moment, I finally decided to definitively give up on this hopeless marriage, to leave her and return to reality. On the other end of the line, hearing my determined tone, my boss seemed to guess something. "Is something wrong between you and Shen Yuchu?" I didn't answer. It was a silent admission. After a moment, my boss' comforting voice came through. "Don't be sad, Zihan. People have to move forward. How about this? I'll buy you a plane ticket for the end of the month. Consider this month as leave for you. Take care of your personal matters, because once you leave, you might never come back." "Thank you, boss." The next day, I went to the company and handed over all my ongoing work. It was just lunchtime. A group of close colleagues wouldn't let me leave. Reluctantly, they dragged me to a restaurant for a meal. "Zian got a promotion and a transfer. You have to treat us to a meal." That's right. That's right. Once you leave, we don't know when we'll see Zihan again. This last meal, we have to make sure to bleed you dry. I didn't refuse either, but when we got to the restaurant, everyone tacitly understood not to order the expensive dishes. The group laughed and joked loudly, which helped to dispel the slight sadness of parting. After eating, I smiled and said goodbye to everyone, then took stock of my remaining things at the office and went home. As soon as I opened the door, I froze. Unexpectedly, Shen Yuchu was still home. Seeing me, she frowned. "Why are you home so early today? And you're carrying a box of things?" I didn't expect to be caught face to face like this. I was a bit flustered, but I reacted quickly. I gave a bland explanation. "The company gave me some time off recently. I just brought back some things I'll need." "Why aren't you at work today?" Hearing my question, Shen Yuchu's expression turned a little awkward. After a moment, she just said she wanted to take a walk to get some air. Taking annual leave recently, she's a workaholic. She almost never takes leave on a normal day. How could she possibly take annual leave just to go for a walk now? Just as she realized this reason was too flimsy and was about to explain further, I nodded. Then, I carried the box past her towards the room. I knew better than anyone else that she took her annual leave to go see the aurora with Henzimo. Of course, before, I would have asked. I would have been sad, but now that I've decided to give up, I no longer have any intention of pursuing it. Did I really believe her just like that? In this moment, an indescribable feeling welled up inside. Shen Yuchu couldn't tell if she felt more fortunate or more disappointed inside. After I finished putting my things away and came out, Shen Yuchu remembered that she had mistaken our anniversary date. Adding to the fact that we were both home recently, she took the initiative to suggest making up for the anniversary with me. I shook my head. "Let's not." My calmness made Shen Yuchu begin to feel an unexplainable panic. She took the initiative again. "I was too busy before. I didn't have time to be with you. It just so happens that we're both on a break during this period. If you have any wishes, you can tell me." Looking at her serious expression, I suddenly spaced out a little. I realized that perhaps Shen Yuchu was also starting to notice something was wrong. I just wanted to leave quietly. I didn't want any more trouble. So after thinking for a moment, I said, "Then do 3 things with me." Shen Yuchu's lips curved up slightly. "Okay, the first thing, what do you want to do?" I also smiled, but the smile never reached my eyes. "Cook a meal for me." Hearing my request, Shen Yuchu was stunned, simply because it was the simplest thing imaginable. But she didn't ask any further. She just said, "Then in a little while, let's go buy groceries together." I nodded, watching her back as she left to get ready. I couldn't help but space out. The fact that Shen Yuchu knew how to cook, I had known for a very long time. It's just that for all these years, she had never cooked for me. Before, when we were friends, I didn't make requests that crossed the line, and she never offered to cook for me. After that, she started dating Henzimo. All her tenderness was reserved for Henzimo. When she learned Henzimo had a weak stomach, she would cook and bring food to him every day. At that time, to take care of Henzimo's feelings, she even suggested reducing contact with me. Of course, I wouldn't have the chance to eat her cooking. Later, we fell in love and got married, but by then, she had started working at the hospital. Once she got busy, she'd even forget to eat herself, let alone cook for me. So, for all these years, this is the first time, in the afternoon, the two of us went to the supermarket together to buy ingredients. The shopping was very simple. There were no disagreements. Soon, we finished buying the ingredients and returned home. But just as Shen Yuchu put down the ingredients, her phone rang. She saw the name on the screen and glanced at me briefly, but she still answered the call. "Yuchu, My friends are throwing me a welcome party. Can you come too? Shin Yu-chu unconsciously replied, her voice softening without her realizing I was helping beside her. The movement of my hands suddenly stopped. I didn't look up. I just casually asked, "Who is it?" The person on the other end of the line seemed to hear my voice and raised his voice a bit. "Is Zihan there too?" "Yu-chu, you should bring Zihan along too. It's been a long time since I've seen you guys." Shin Yu-chu wanted to refuse, but seeing that I had looked up at her, my expression completely normal. And moreover, she had already agreed. Refusing now would seem a bit deliberate. She swallowed the refusal that was about to come out, seeing that I had already nodded. She agreed. The welcome party was today. Shin Yu-chu didn't mention cooking again. She drove me to the address Henzimo had sent. We got the news quite late. When we arrived at the private room, everyone else was already there. The atmosphere was already lively. The scene was very noisy. Some were reminiscing. Others were joking around. Someone even brought up the past, mentioning the sensational romance between Henzimo and Shin Yu-chu. After being nudged by someone else's elbow and seeing us enter, their voices gradually quieted down. I found a seat next to Shin Yu-chu. As soon as I sat down, I noticed the person next to me and unconsciously moved a little further away. Then my gaze swept over to Henzimo, who was surrounded by everyone. Seeing that we had also arrived, Henzimo came over with a glass of wine. He raised his glass towards me. "Yu-chu, Zihan, I heard you two have been married for 5 years. Congratulations." When he mentioned the 5 years, Shin Yu-chu's expression changed slightly, because it had also been 5 years since she and Henzimo broke up. She really wanted to control herself, not to overdo it in front of me. But once she met Henzimo, she couldn't control her actions. Seeing him drink one glass after another, Shin Yu-chu started to advise him, "You have a weak stomach. You should drink less." The temperature in the private room dropped a bit. Henzimo couldn't help but shiver. She immediately rushed to bring him a coat. Whichever dessert Henzimo glanced at, she would bring it to him. Eating the dessert Shin Yu-chu brought, Henzimo smiled. His gaze passed over her and landed on me, his eyes holding a hint of showing off. "Yu-chu, you're taking such good care of me. Aren't you afraid your husband will get angry?" Only then did she realize what she had forgotten. She turned her head in a slight panic. Seeing my calm but cold face, she returned to my side. "I'm sorry. Zihan has an old friend. We haven't seen each other in years. I should take good care of him." I shook my head. My voice was calm, but it made Shin Yu-chu even more flustered. She took a plate of dessert from the table and placed it in front of me. "I remember you don't like noise. If you're not used to it, I can take you home first." I shook my head. My gaze fell on the dessert plate she brought over. I suddenly laughed. The ridicule in my heart grew stronger. "Peanuts again. I clearly just said yesterday that I was allergic to peanuts." "Shin Yu-chu, just how little do you care about me?" I pushed the dessert plate away, saying nothing, but Shin Yu-chu thought the crisis was over. She went back to Henzimo's side. Just then, someone said playing like this was boring and suggested playing a spinning bottle game. Shin Yu-chu and I also joined in. The first round landed on Shin Yu-chu. Everyone immediately got excited, but after she drew the forfeit, everyone lost interest. Henzimo came closer to look. The penalty was to choose a person of the opposite sex present to kiss. Yu-chu came with her husband. You don't even have to think to know who shall choose. So boring. Shin Yu-chu glanced at Henzimo. After a long silence, she unexpectedly chose to accept the punishment. Drinking. Everyone was surprised by her choice and looked towards me in unison. I hadn't said anything yet, but Henzimo had already spoken up to smooth things over. It seems that over the past 5 years, Yu-chu is still the same ice queen, remembering their sensational college romance. Not many people believed this. Everyone snickered and started the next round. But unfortunately, it was Shin Yu-chu again. After drawing the forfeit and seeing it was just to show her photo album, everyone around her breathed a sigh of relief. It's just showing her photo album. With Shin Yu-chu's workaholic personality, her photo album is probably related to her work. Since she couldn't accept 2 forfeits in a row, Shin Yu-chu could only open her photo album, but seeing the photos inside, everyone took a sharp breath. They held their breath without realizing it. Inside were all photos of Henzimo. The atmosphere instantly froze. I stood up to leave, but Shin Yu-chu reached out and pulled me back. If she hadn't reached out, it would have been fine, but when she did, the dense red rashes on her arm were revealed. Everyone was startled. After a moment of thought, they understood the reason. Just now, Shin Yu-chu had only drunk alcohol. It must be a severe alcohol allergy. Everyone exclaimed in surprise. "Yu-chu, your alcohol allergy is so severe. Why are you still drinking?" But before the words were finished, everyone remembered the photos on Shin Yu-chu's phone. As if suddenly understanding, they all turned their eyes towards me. Some were enjoying the show, while others were sympathetic, but I acted as if nothing had happened. I removed her hand, only leaving behind the words, "I'll go buy medicine." By the time I returned with the medicine, after these 2 rounds, everyone had lost the mood to continue playing. They all found excuses and most of them left. Only Henzimo was left, helping Shin Yu-chu out. He only let go when I arrived. "Now that you're here, I'll leave Yu-chu to you." After saying that, he turned and left. I paid him no mind, gave Shin Yu-chu the allergy medicine with some water, and then called a car to take her home. After returning home, Shin Yu-chu was completely sober. Seeing that I was still watching over her, she immediately breathed a sigh of relief. Zihan, let me explain. You know I don't really like taking pictures. Those photos were all taken from before. I forgot to delete them. She thought she would have to explain for a long time, that she would have to coax me well. Unexpectedly, I just looked at her deeply for a moment and then calmly nodded. Yeah, I know. But inwardly, I sneered. 5 years of not deleting the photos. 5 years of not being able to forget that person. Shin Yu-Chu, your feelings run so deep. The next day, perhaps because she felt guilty, Shin Yu-Chu, after resting, quickly said she wanted to make up for yesterday's meal. I refused. There's no need. Grandma's death anniversary is in a few days. Come with me to visit Grandma. Okay, you promised to do 3 things with me before. This is the second one. Shin Yu-Chu was stunned for a moment. She nodded in agreement. On the anniversary of Grandma's death, Shin Yu-Chu and I set off for the cemetery early in the morning. This was also the first time since Grandma passed away that Shin Yu-Chu came to visit her every year before. On this day, she would always say she had a business trip, but it wasn't until I found the hidden tickets, a thick stack of plane tickets to Country M, that I finally knew. Every time she claimed to be on a business trip, she was secretly going to see Enzimo just because Country M was where Enzimo lived. I walked to Grandma's grave. Just as I was about to speak, Shin Yu-Chu's phone suddenly rang. She answered it. I don't know what was said on the other end, but her expression suddenly changed. She then hurriedly left the cemetery. Zihan, something came up. I have to go first. She didn't even have time to leave me with an explanation. Shin Yu-Chu, I couldn't help but call out her name, but her figure only paused for a moment. She didn't even turn her head, and just left directly. I withdrew my gaze and looked towards Grandma's grave. I placed the bouquet in my hands in front of her tombstone. I didn't want to make Grandma worry about me, so I talked about many other things, but in the end, after holding it in for so long, I still couldn't hold back the tears in my eyes. Grandma, in planning to get a divorce, it was just noon when I left the cemetery. The weather wasn't too hot yet, and this area was quite deserted. It wasn't easy to catch a taxi, so I decided to walk for a bit first, to a place with more cars to hail a cab. Unexpectedly, danger came along with the increasing traffic. The green light came on. I started walking to the other side of the road, but before I could take more than a few steps, I heard a piercing car horn. I turned my head to look and saw a car with failed brakes rushing towards me. A few seconds later, I fell heavily to the ground. Screams rang out continuously, mixed with the sound of chatter. Someone was also urging others to call 120. The next moment, I completely lost consciousness. When I regained consciousness, I had already been taken to the hospital. Vaguely, I heard someone talking beside me. Dr. Shen, another car accident patient was just brought in over here. The situation is very serious. Could you come take a look? The person being spoken to hesitated for a few seconds and still chose to refuse. Let someone else handle it for now. I have a rather important surgery on my end. That person's voice was very familiar. Almost instantly, I recognized who it was. Shin Yu-Chu, my wife. Recalling her figure rushing away at the cemetery, how could I not understand at this point her rather important surgery was, of course, Enzimo. The doctor saw that I was awake and hurriedly told me to contact my family, but I shook my head, gritted my teeth, and took the surgery consent form. I signed my name on it. I laughed self-deprecatingly. No need. My wife, she's operating on someone else. On the other side, an hour later, Shin Yu-Chu finally walked out of the operating room. Luckily, Enzimo wasn't seriously injured in this car accident. The surgery was also very simple. She finally breathed a sigh of relief. Remembering what the nurse had said earlier, she didn't take off her surgical gown. She asked the nurse beside her, the patient who was brought in earlier, which operating room is he in? He'll go over now. Dr. Shen, that patient has already been assigned to another doctor, but that patient is bleeding heavily. The situation is serious. You have extensive experience. It's better if you go take a look. Shin Yu-Chu did have this intention. Following the nurse's directions, she quickly walked to that operating room. When she pushed open the door of the operating room and saw the person covered in blood on the operating table, she was completely stunned. When I woke up, Shin Yu-Chu was resting, slumped over by my bed. I slightly lifted my hand, and she was startled awake. Seeing that I was awake, her eyes were filled with remorse and fear. The usually cold woman hugged me tightly for the first time. Zihan, I'm sorry. I really didn't know that patient was you. I'm sorry. My mistake. It will never happen again. My face was still a bit pale at this time, but looking at Shin Yu-Chu, there was no trace of blame. I know. I understand. Yu-Chu. It's okay. I smiled and shook my head, generously forgiving her. As a wife, she abandoned her husband. As a doctor, she abandoned a more seriously injured patient for personal reasons. For this behavior, I gave her the utmost understanding. Shin Yu-Chu, being forgiven so easily, felt a little uneasy in her heart. But just like that, for some reason, a strong sense of unease welled up in her heart. She looked at me lying quietly on the hospital bed. Not speaking, the distance was clearly so close, yet she suddenly felt that I was very far away. She held my hand, a hint of panic in her eyes. Zihan, you won't leave me. Right? I calmly nodded. I won't go anywhere. Receiving my assurance, Shin Yu Chu finally felt relieved. She looked up and saw that my drip was almost empty, so she turned and left the room, saying she was going to get a nurse to change the medicine for me. But until the IV bottle was completely empty, she still hadn't returned. I lowered my eyes and smiled mockingly. I picked up the call bell beside me and called a nurse to change the medicine, saying she was going to get a nurse for me. She could have clearly used the call bell directly, yet she deliberately went to the nurse's station herself. It clearly wouldn't take more than a few minutes to go and come back. Yet she left and didn't return. Was she that impatient? She couldn't wait even for a minute. As soon as she heard my forgiveness, she immediately ran to the side of the person in her heart. When Shin Yu Chu returned, it was already afternoon. She brought a lunchbox, her face full of apology. Sorry, something came up suddenly just now. Looking up, her gaze fell on the changed IV bottle. She breathed a sigh of relief, then put down the lunchbox. Have something to eat. You can only eat liquids right now. So I made some porridge. Try it. This was the first time I'd eaten something Shin Yu Chu had made with her own hands. It was very bland, which was very suitable for a patient. It looked very thoughtfully prepared. I didn't say anything. Under her care, I finished the bowl of porridge bit by bit. Then I picked up my phone and saw the Henzimo had updated his status. The picture was of a bowl of porridge, identical to the one I just had. The caption read, "Porridge specially made for me by my favorite person. It's delicious. I love it." A mocking smile tugged at the corner of my lips. I still said nothing. I just turned off my phone, turned my back to her, and closed my eyes. I was hospitalized for half a month. During this time, she was always the one taking care of me, aside from occasionally disappearing for a while. And the food she brought, which I always saw Hanzimo had, an identical portion of, she was truly worthy of the word responsible. And every time after she ran back and forth, she would always come to apologize to me. Every time, I would forgive her generously. Shin Yu Chu always felt something was a bit strange in her heart, but she couldn't pinpoint where this strangeness came from. In the end, she still chose to ignore that strange feeling. On the day of my discharge, Shin Yu Chu came to pick me up and take me home. Luckily, I didn't have many things, so she had a free hand to support me to the underground parking lot. I sat in the passenger seat, but Shin Yu Chu didn't get in the car after putting away the luggage. I turned my head to look out the window and only saw her back. When she reappeared, Henzimo was beside her. I didn't expect that Henzimo would be discharged on the same day as me. In just a moment of inattention, Henzimo had already walked up to me. His voice was low, filled with the taste of being favored. Zihan, I'm so sorry. I'm bothering you guys again, but I get motion sickness. Can I sit in the passenger seat? Shin Yu Chu subconsciously looked at me. Zihan, Shin Yu Chu's favoritism made Henzimo even more smug. He stared at me intently, hoping to see anger and resentment on my face, but he was bound to be disappointed. I remained calm. I didn't even say a word. I calmly got out of the car and walked towards the back seat, giving up the passenger seat. This action not only made Henzimo unsure of what I was ultimately thinking, but even Shin Yu Chu didn't know what I was thinking. She just thought I was probably angry at her because of Henzimo. She first took Henzimo home and prepared to explain to me on the way back. I had already closed my eyes, looking as if I were asleep. Shin Yu Chu didn't dare to disturb me, so she could only drive home first. I sat in the back seat the whole way, not saying a word, not giving her a chance to speak either. Upon arriving home, I woke up just in time because she felt guilty. She followed behind me, bustling about with concern. She said she had nothing on today and could stay with me the whole time. She thought I would be happy, but I just raised an eyebrow and left her with two meaningful words. Is that so? My rhetorical question always made Shin Yu Chu feel as if I knew something. She was a bit flustered and asked me what I meant by that, but I just shook my head. It's nothing. You're a doctor. After all, if the hospital needs you, you certainly can't neglect others for my sake. This explanation was very reasonable. At least in our 5 years of marriage, she had never given up her work at the hospital for me. If it weren't for this time, when she, for Henzimo's sake, rejected me, the more seriously injured patient, perhaps I would never have known that she could be so selfish as to disregard everything. But Shin Yu Chu didn't think that far. She thought that was my real thought, and breathed a sigh of relief. She stayed with me for a long time, taking care of me very meticulously. If I were just her patient, I would probably like such a responsible and patient doctor, and I wouldn't have to worry about who was in her heart. Night gradually fell, and just when I was surprised that today, she hadn't left for some other matter. As expected, she received another phone call from Henzimo. He cried on the phone about his wound hurting, the light was broken, and he was going to change it, but his wound reopened. Now there was a lot of blood on the floor. He asked if she could come take a look for him. Shin Yu Chu glanced at me, a look of dilemma on her face. She hesitated, unable to say no directly, but she also couldn't bring herself to agree. The person on the other end guessed her hesitation and couldn't help but start groaning softly. The suppressed moans of pain traveled through the phone to her ear, making her heart clench involuntarily. In the end, she still looked at me, her face full of apology. Zihan, the hospital suddenly has a very difficult patient. I have to go take a look. Hearing this, I didn't stop her. In fact, I was very understanding. It's okay. You should go. The patient is more important. With my approval, she no longer had any psychological burden. She grabbed the coat hanging by the door and hurried out. Before leaving, she only left me with one sentence. You rest well at home. Wait for me to come back. I'll try to spend more time with you in the future. Watching her retreating figure, I sneered. There won't be a future, Shin-Yu-Chu. I won't wait for you anymore either. A few hours later, looking at the clock on the wall, the hands were about to pass midnight. I still gave her a call. I heard the long dial tone from the phone, until it rang for a long time without anyone answering, and automatically disconnected. Only then did I make a second call. This time, the call was answered, but it was a man's voice. Are you looking for Yu-Chu? She's in the shower. It's not convenient for her to answer the phone. Yep. This statement was heavily laden with a sense of claiming ownership. If someone who didn't know the situation heard it, they would probably think that Hanzimo was Shen Yuchu's rightful husband. He thought that I would definitely be angry. But unexpectedly, my voice was still very calm. There was no trace of anger. It's fine. Since she's with you, then let her rest well. Hanzimo couldn't understand at all how he could provoke me so blatantly, yet I still managed not to get angry. There wasn't even a hint of sadness. In the end, was it that I was really good at enduring, or that I loved Shen Yuchu so much that as long as Shen Yuchu was by my side, I didn't care about anything else? The next day, when I saw Shen Yuchu return with a normal expression, I guessed that Hanzimo probably didn't tell her about that phone call last night. I didn't care. After all, I was about to leave anyway. As for Shen Yuchu, perhaps feeling that she really owed me a lot lately, she stayed by my side for the following period. She went to the amusement park with me, went to the movies, until one day, she suddenly suggested I help her pick a gift. I went with her to browse jewelry stores, browsed accessory shops, and even looked at flowers together. But she always felt that those gifts weren't good enough. She kept pulling me, asking if this or that gift was unsuitable. I was quite responsible, giving her many suggestions. Watching her go to such great lengths for a gift, for some reason, I suddenly remembered the past 5 years and the gift she had chosen for me. When choosing gifts for me, she was certainly never this hesitant, because for every anniversary, the gifts she gave me were always just star-related, but because I showed no reaction, she didn't notice anything unusual. Holding the carefully selected gift, she paid and then went to the flower shop to order flowers. Then she was ready to take me home. But at that moment, I suddenly asked, who is the gift for? Only then did she react, not explaining to me, it's Zemo who gave me 2 tickets to his ballet performance. He invited me to bring you along to watch. I thought since we're going to his performance, we should bring a gift for him. I nodded, not asking any more questions. Soon, the day of the ballet performance arrived. Since there was still quite some time before the performance, the two of us first went to the flower shop to pick up the pre-ordered bouquet. Only then did we head towards the theater. The two of us arrived at the theater and sat down according to our ticketed seats. I originally thought she wasn't interested in these things because as a former art student myself, had once invited her to see some art exhibitions. What I got was just one reply. I'm not interested in these things, but as soon as the performance began, she watched with great concentration. When Hanzimo appeared, watching his performance, she even started introducing the pieces to me. It wasn't until I saw how knowledgeable Shen Yuchu was about ballet that I suddenly understood. It turned out she wasn't uninterested in art, but uninterested in art that had nothing to do with Hanzimo. I smiled bitterly, but in the end, I still said nothing. After all, saying anything would probably be useless. After the performance ended, Shen Yuchu and I went backstage to wait for Hanzimo to come off stage. I thought it wouldn't take long. But unexpectedly, Hanzimo never came backstage. At this moment, from the main hall, came the sudden sound of chaotic screams. After asking around, we learned that the main hall, for some reason, had suddenly caught fire. Many people were trapped in the hall. I subconsciously looked at Shen Yuchu. As expected, I saw her face turn panicked. She didn't even have time to think. Her mind had only one thought. Hanzimo was still inside. She had to go save him. I grabbed Shen Yuchu's hand, my eyes full of disapproval. There's a fire station nearby, and the police have been called. The firefighters will be here soon. It's very dangerous for you to go in now. But she didn't listen to my advice at all. She forcefully flung her hand, pushing me away recklessly, and rushed towards the main hall. Meanwhile, I lost my balance and fell to the ground, watching her figure quickly disappear before my eyes. My heart instantly sank to the abyss. The firefighters arrived very quickly and brought the people trapped in the hall out. When Shen Yuchu was rescued, I saw her at a glance. A large part of her arm was burned. Yet, she seemed not to feel the pain, still holding tightly on Hanzimo's hand. Afraid he would be abandoned, Hanzimo was well protected by her and wasn't injured at all. I heard she rushed in the fire later to save people. Afterward, the firefighters scolded her harshly, saying that no matter how urgent it was, she shouldn't have been without protective measures, and just rushed in like that. At this point, both of them had safely left the scene. Her heart finally settled. She gently comforted the incessantly whining Hanzimo, and didn't retort when she heard the firefighters scolding, silently enduring it. Soon, the ambulance also arrived at the scene. Shen Yuchu was also taken to the hospital because of the injury on her arm. From beginning to end, her hand never let go of Hanzimo's. In contrast, I was left far behind. I laughed self-deprecatingly. Look how great their love is. How praiseworthy. For Hanzimo, she disregarded her life's danger and rushed into the fire. For Hanzimo, she even injured her hands, which are most important for a doctor, and completely disregard it. In the end, I still had to call a taxi to the hospital myself. After asking around for a while, I found out where she was now and headed towards the inpatient ward. Before leaving, I vaguely heard the nurses gossiping. Is Shen's husband, and the person Shen is holding on to so tightly. One is the husband who loves me, the other is the white moonlight. Who do I love? I threw those figures behind me. I couldn't help but think, even a passerby can see your abnormality. You think I am so stupid to think you've hidden it well, that I wouldn't notice your change of heart? This time, what reason will you use to explain it? I walked into Shen Yuchu's hospital room, and as soon as I saw her, Shen Yuchu finally remembered what she had forgotten. She stood up in a panic, but accidentally touched the wound on her hand. She couldn't help but look up at my expression. As usual, I showed no expression, nor was I worried. Shen Yuchu knew that she had gone too far this time. She could only coax Hanzimo to leave first. After seeing him walk out of the room, she turned to me with a face full of apologies. Zihan, I was too panicked at that moment. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to abandon you. I sat down by the hospital bed, looking at her bandaged arm, staring at her for the first time. I didn't immediately say I forgave her. You promised me you would forget Hanzimo. Does that promise still hold? She breathed steadily and nodded at me. It does. Zihan, I'm just used to protecting him. I didn't mean anything else. I don't know if I believed her or not, but I truly didn't bring it up again. Fortunately, the wound on Shen Yuchu's hand wasn't serious. After a few days of recovery in the hospital, she was discharged. On the day of her discharge, I looked at the calendar on my phone. There were only 3 days left until my departure. 3 days before leaving, I deleted all my social media accounts, including my phone number. I didn't tell anyone about this until Shen Yuchu discovered she suddenly couldn't contact me and anxiously asked me what had happened, why I had suddenly deleted all my accounts. I didn't even look up and told her the excuse I had prepared. I didn't delete them. Maybe the accounts suddenly had an issue. I'll check them later. In reality, the reason was very flimsy, but Shen Yuchu didn't think much of it. After hearing my explanation, she was relieved and turned to leave. 2 days before leaving, I packed all my things, throwing away what should be thrown away, dealing with what needed to be dealt with. Then I looked at the house, which had become much emptier, and thought of myself. Luckily I had told her in advance that I wouldn't be home today. Finally, I took out my phone and made a call. Lawyer Lai, please help me draft a divorce agreement. On the last day before leaving, I gathered the gifts Shen Yuchu had given me, all the star-related gifts, as well as from the past 5 years, the plane tickets from her secret trips to Country M to visit Hanzimo. I put all of these things into a box. Finally, on top, I placed a love letter written in her tone, all to be sent to Hanzimo. All these years, she had never forgotten Hanzimo. Since she couldn't say it, I would say it for her. After sending the package, I returned home. Shen Yuchu was also back, looking at the empty house. She frowned and couldn't help but ask, "Did you throw a lot of things away? Why does the house feel so empty?" Perhaps because I was leaving today. I didn't continue to hide it. Yes, I threw away everything we bought when we got married. Shen Yuchu thought I was just cleaning out old things and didn't pay it much mind. Then in a little while, I'll go with you to buy new things. I didn't reply, but proposed the final matter. When we got married, we had our reception at Fengxi Manor. You told me then that when we celebrate our golden anniversary, we would have another big celebration there. Remember? I remember. Why? She turned to look at me, a little awkwardly. It's not our golden anniversary yet. Is it? You owed me 3 things before. There's still the last one. Come with me to Fengxi Manor one more time today. I want to go back and see it. Regarding my sudden request, Shen Yuchu found it a bit strange, but in the end, she still agreed to my request. Fengxi Manor is in a very distant suburb. Even if we drive, it would still take a while to get there. I walked ahead, entering the manor first. Shen Yuchu followed behind me. Seeing my slightly happy back, she was a little dazed. It seemed she had seen this expression on my face for a very long time. Looking back at the past month, in her memory, the deepest impression she had of me was my calm face saying, "It's okay." While she was dazed, her phone suddenly rang. Shen Yuchu's consciousness was pulled back. She looked down and saw the 2 words Zemo on the screen, but she did answer right away. She looked up again at my back in front of her. A sense of unease suddenly rose in her heart. A voice in her head kept telling her that if she answered this call, she would lose me completely, but the phone rang urgently again and again. I heard it too. I turned my head to look at her, my familiar expression returning. "It's okay. If you have something urgent, you can go first." As if liberated in that instant, she ignored the unease in her heart and quickly answered the phone, hearing the choked voice on the other end, saying he was beaten and injured, begging for her help. Her rationality was immediately thrown out the window. "Zihan, I'll be back later. You can look around by yourself." She didn't even have time for a proper goodbye before hurriedly leaving the manor, and I watched her retreating back and sighed deeply. Shen Yuchu, I won't wait for you this time. We won't see each other again. I didn't go any further in, nor did I wait. I paused in the manor for a moment, then turned and left. Our marriage began here, and now it ends here. It can be considered a final stop to this relationship. Back at home, I took out the suitcase I had packed long ago and left behind a pre-signed divorce agreement. Then I pulled my suitcase and left. Closing the door, I called a taxi and headed straight for the airport. From beginning to end, I left decisively. I left with determination. Without looking back once, Shin Yu-chu went to find Han Zimu, only to find out his claim of being beaten and injured was fake. She was a little angry, but he didn't take her anger seriously. He took her hand and joked, "Isn't it because you've been with that other person these past few days? You haven't had time to be with me. Yu-chu, I miss you so much. Yu-chu, when are you going to make things clear with me?" As soon as he said this, Shin Yu-chu suddenly became awkward. She looked at Han Zimo, not understanding what he meant. Han Zimo saw her confusion and was a little displeased, but remembering the package he received today, he let go of her hand and took out the package. "If you hadn't suddenly sent these things to me, I wouldn't have known that you never forgot me and that you secretly went abroad to see me so many times. And there's this love letter. Seeing how sincere you are, I've agreed to be with you." He took out the love letter and raised an eyebrow at her smugly. "But since I've agreed to be with you, shouldn't you divorce him first? I don't want to be the third party." She looked at the things in his hands and the wedding ring set aside. The tense string in her mind suddenly snapped. "You're saying I sent this to you?" Her suddenly raised voice startled Han Zimu. He picked up the wedding ring from the side and tossed it to her. "What else? The sender's address is near your house. Didn't you just take off this wedding ring? But I don't want your wedding ring with someone else. You have to buy me a new one." She hurriedly caught the wedding ring. Her mind went numb. The style and size were clearly mine. Moreover, she had never sent these things to Han Zimu, so it was obvious who sent them. Han Zimo looked at her surprised face, clearly not knowing. Thinking about it for a moment, he also figured out the cause. He couldn't help but mutter, "He's got some sense. At least," but the next second, he was pushed away forcefully. Shin Yu-chu clutched the ring in her hand, suddenly remembering that she had left me at the manor. She quickly stood up, ignoring Han Zimo's calls from behind, and frantically drove back to the manor. But by the time she got back to the manor, there was no trace of me. She got back in the car and rushed home. The house was empty. Not only was I gone, but even things related to me had been cleared out completely. She searched hopefully for anything left in the room, but in the end, only on the living room table did she see a signed divorce agreement. In that moment, Shin Yu-chu finally realized what I meant this morning when I said I threw away everything from our wedding. What it meant. I threw away not just the traces of my time with her, but also our marriage. I threw her away. She stared blankly at the wedding ring in her hand, and then suddenly noticed the empty space where her wedding ring used to be. Even the mark from the ring had faded significantly. Shin Yu-chu suddenly remembered the first day she took off her wedding ring. That day, I had asked her why she took it off. At the time, she was indifferent and just found a random excuse to brush it off, saying it was inconvenient to wear during surgery, so she took it off. I didn't say anything then, but my eyes already showed a look of understanding. After that, I never asked about it again. Was it because I didn't see it? It was just that I already knew the answer. It wasn't her first day as a doctor, nor was it her first surgery. Even if it was inconvenient for surgery, she always remembered to put it back on before. Later, she stopped putting it back on. Did I feel something was wrong since then? But thinking carefully, it didn't seem right. It could probably be traced back further to the day she returned from Iceland. That day, she brought me allergy-inducing peanut brittle. I just reminded her once. When she gave me gifts, I no longer had the joy of receiving them as before. Shin Yu-chu unconsciously took out her phone to call me, until she heard from the phone, "The number you have dialed is not in service." The notification said. She then remembered that 2 days ago I had deleted all my accounts. It turns out I had been showing signs of leaving early on. It was just that she never paid attention. Ding sound was a new email notification. She opened it. It was from a strange account. The message contained a picture. The picture was a screenshot of a status update. The person who posted it was Han Zimo. The content: watching the aurora again with my favorite person, and then going home with you. The time of the post was our 5th wedding anniversary, so I knew back then. I knew her sudden departure before our anniversary wasn't for work, but to watch the aurora with Han Zimo. Memories flooded in like a collapsing sky. Washing away her reason, she finally realized her own foolishness. Her supposedly clever concealment was like a transparent cloth in front of me, not hiding anything at all. But she never thought about divorcing me. She just couldn't let go of her obsession with Han Zimu. That's why when she heard he had returned to the country, she couldn't control her thoughts and made a wrong choice. But I clearly could have stopped it. Why did I choose this way? To leave silently. She cried silently. Then she suddenly thought that I must have sent her this email. She hurriedly opened the sender's information, and what she saw was the notification that the account had been deleted. "You are so cruel. You didn't leave me even a sliver of hope." Her gaze fell on the divorce agreement on the table. Hope suddenly sparked in her eyes. She hadn't signed it. She hadn't registered the divorce with me. which means I am still her husband. Our marriage isn't over. She took that divorce agreement and fiercely tore it to shreds. She wouldn't sign it. She wouldn't give up on me. But right now, Shin Yu-Chu thought she needed to deal with someone first. Half an hour later, she knocked on Hanzimo's door. Seeing it was Shin Yu-Chu, Hanzimo's face flashed with surprise and joy. He didn't think she would come back. Just as he was about to say something, a slap landed on his face. With a smack, he covered his face with one hand and pointed at Shin Yu-Chu with the other, looking at her in disbelief. "You dare to hit me?" He thought his aggrieved expression could at least evoke some pity from her, but her eyes only held anger, and within that anger, there was even a hint of hatred. "Shouldn't I hit you? Who on earth gave you the courage to dare post that nonsense in front of Zihan, Hanzimo? When you did these things, did you feel no shame? Is this what the Hen family taught you, to be the third party and even show off in front of the legal wife? Do you have any face left?" Her words were harsh, practically trampling his dignity underfoot, but that also provoked his anger. "No face." Hanzimo laughed out of extreme anger and slapped her back. "Shin Yu-Chu, are you mistaken? You say I have no face? Then who is it that saw my status update and immediately bought a plane ticket to Iceland to watch the aurora with me? Pathetic. I saw the aurora status he posted, and you his so-called wife. Did you see it? Did you offer to take him to see it? Did I force you to go to Iceland with me? Did I force you to fill your photo album with my pictures? Did I force you to abandon him? Who needed help more? To save me? Did I force you to abandon him time and time again? Isn't it because you're cheap? You just wave my hand and you stick to me like a dog to its master." Shin Yu-Chu had never seen Hanzimo like this. In front of her, he always had the look of a spoiled young master. Even if he occasionally threw a tantrum, it was more like pouting, but now he was losing his temper. With a ferocious expression, using extremely insulting words to respond to her outburst. He even slapped her, but because of his words, Shin Yu-Chu finally knew that I had also wanted to see the aurora at first. So when I saw her and Hanzimo together, going to Iceland to see the aurora, in the status update, what kind of mood must I have been in? A wave of regret surged in her heart. Looking at this culprit, she couldn't control her temper and started fighting with him. Shin Yu-Chu was a woman, after all, raised delicately. Naturally, she was no match for Hanzimo in strength and got more injured in the fight, but Hanzimo didn't get off easy either. With her hair pulling and kicking, he also became flustered. In the end, their fight attracted the attention of the neighbors, who called the police. The farce only ended when the police pulled them apart, but this struggle also made the two of them completely break off. Shin Yu-Chu wanted to find my whereabouts, but only then did she realize that she knew absolutely nothing about my social circle. She went to the only company address she knew, but only learned that I had been transferred abroad. She knew nothing else. She looked for my boss, but although my boss knew where I was, he refused to tell her my location, and she searched every place she could think of, but never found a trace of me again. 2 years later, airport. I pushed my suitcase out of the airport. I pushed up the sunglasses on my face and looked around, but didn't see the person I was supposed to meet. I frowned and muttered under my breath, "The person Jack arranged for the pickup is so unreliable. I'm already out, and they're still nowhere to be seen." It was just a small complaint, but a woman walking past me suddenly stopped. "Zihan," the woman's slightly surprised and joyful voice sounded beside me. The wrist pulling my suitcase was suddenly grabbed. My brows furrowed tighter. I turned my head to look at the woman holding me and pulled down my sunglasses. The annoyance in my eyes was obvious. "Shin Yu-Chu, although I've been abroad for these 2 years, I'm a fashion designer by trade. I can't avoid being online, so I know a thing or two about the news back home. So I also know that not long after I left, Hanzimo was exposed as a third party, destroying someone else's family. And Hanzimo, as the former principal ballet dancer of the King Niao Theater, naturally received a lot of criticism. After this incident, Hanzimo's reputation was ruined. Finally, due to public pressure, the King Niao Theater issued a statement firing Hanzimo. The dream he had pursued for so long was ultimately shattered because of his own wrong choices. Originally, Shin Yu-Chu, as the cheating party, was also a target for netizens' condemnation, but because she is the top surgeon at the hospital wouldn't easily let her go. In addition, although Father Shen hadn't cared much for her all these years, when Shin Yu-Chu was attacked by public opinion, the Shen group still stepped in to help her suppress it, allowing her to avoid punishment. That's why she was returning from a business trip and unexpectedly met me, who had to return for work. But when she saw the undisguised disgust in my eyes at that moment, her heart ached. "Zihan, now that you're back, will you be leaving again?" I didn't answer her question. My gaze fell on the hand she used to grab me. My voice was cold. "Let go," she reacted. I let go of my hand, but the person who had been gone for so long finally reappeared. She couldn't bear to let me leave just like that, but as soon as she let go, I recoiled as if from a snake, taking several large steps back. "Mess! Shen, please have some self-respect. We have no relationship now. You'd better not stand so close." The moment she heard me say this, Shin Yu-Chu subconsciously retorted, "I don't agree to the divorce. Zihan, please give me one more chance. I truly know I was wrong. From now on, I will absolutely never make a mistake like that again. Zihan, I didn't sign that divorce agreement at first. We didn't go register the divorce either. You are still my husband now." She looked at me with deep affection, trying once again to reawaken the love I once had for her. I never expected her to say that. I never expected it, since I had already taken the initiative to grant her wish, to be with her unforgettable white moonlight. Why does she still want to cling to this marriage? Sneaking abroad behind her back at first was a failure on my part to consider everything thoroughly, but I smiled. "It's all right. If you don't want an amicable divorce, I can also sue for divorce." I pushed my suitcase, walked past her, and continued forward. "After all, we've been separated for 2 years. Even if you choose to go to court, the final judgment will still be divorce." After saying that, I did even look at Shen Yuchu's expression. I just left. Shen Yuchu thought that by not signing the divorce agreement, she could keep me by her side, but she forgot that in this world, an amicable divorce is never the only way. But because of this, she finally realized just how firm my determination to leave was. Even after 2 years, I still hadn't forgiven her. She couldn't control her heart touch. She stared blankly in the direction I had left, only to see a girl run up to me. Panting, she naturally took the suitcase from my hand. I also exchanged a few words with that person. Our demeanor was familiarly casual, as if we had known each other for a long time. So quickly, there was already someone else by my side. In that moment, jealousy grew wildly in her heart. She wanted the woman by my side to disappear from now on. But right now, besides secretly watching me from behind, there was nothing she could do. In fact, she didn't even have the courage to appear before me again. "Jura! Shen, why are you still here? The director is calling and urging us to hurry back." Another doctor, a step behind, caught up, seeing Shen Yuchu still standing there in a daze. He couldn't help but remind her. Only then did she finally come to her senses. She gave a long, deep look in the direction I had left. Before turning to leave, she wouldn't let go so easily, at least for now. I was still her husband. That fact would not change. Meanwhile, on the other side, the driver got out of the car to take the suitcase from Song Linto. She got into the car with me first. "Linto, why are you the one picking me up?" The Song family is considered a leader in the fashion design industry. Song Lintu is the sole heir to the Song group. She is also very influential abroad. If it weren't for my transfer and resulting promotion, I'm afraid even if my company collaborated with the Song group, it wouldn't have been my turn. But it was after that collaboration that our private contact increased. But even if we were on good terms, I never thought she would be the one to pick me up. I asked her, somewhat in disbelief, "Could Jack actually order you around?" "Of course not. Unless this young lady, do it willingly. Otherwise, even if my grandpa came, I wouldn't listen to a word." She spoke with magnificent bravado. "Like a proud peacock, I came to pick you up because I wanted to see you." Of course, her previous sentence made me unable to hold back a chuckle, but her next one was so blunt it wiped the smile off my face. The fact that Song Linto liked me was something she never hid, but it was very difficult for me to move on from my previous relationship. Shen Yuchu had occupied most of my life, my 7 years of having a secret crush, and my 5 years of marriage. I once truly thought I could hold her hand until the end of our lives, but while I pursued her with all my might, Henzimo, with just a wave of his hand, could easily capture all her attention, even though she and Henzimo drew a line between them later. What good did that do? The hurt she caused me would not disappear. The fact that she had an affair would not, because of her later attempts to make up for it, become non-existent. I hated her, I was disgusted by her, even loathed her. With such feelings, there was no way for me to accept a new relationship. And now, I was even less able to accept one. I sighed. I looked at Song Lin too, though I really don't want to admit it. I still have to tell you, I'm not divorced yet. I left in too much of a hurry last year, although I left behind a divorce agreement. When I went abroad, I saw that her heart was full of her first love. I thought she would agree to sign the divorce agreement when she saw it, but I don't know for what reason. They argued afterward and didn't get together. She also didn't sign that divorce agreement. So legally, we are still husband and wife right now. My sudden words caught Song Linto by surprise. She also never thought that the man she had been pursuing for 2 years was still a married man. She was somewhat regretful, but it still didn't change the free-spirited aura about her. Her tone was suggestive. "It's fine if you're not divorced. Anyway, from what I hear, you will eventually divorce her. Right? If you don't mind, I can put up with a little grievance. If you do mind, I can also wait for you to get a divorce." Her words were so open, they simply shocked me, but I wasn't the only one who was shocked. There was also the driver in the front. He coughed a few times, almost losing his grip on the steering wheel. His eyes kept glancing back till he saw Song Linto's seemingly murderous glare and quickly averted his gaze, not daring to look again. But after dropping us off at the destination, he quickly hid behind the car and called the Song family's grandfather. "Sir, the young miss said she wants to be a third party for love." "Here?" Song, far away overseas, picked up the phone. Startled, he spat out the tea he had just sipped. "What did you say?" But I was completely unaware of these things. I returned to the country this time, originally because I had work to attend to domestically, but now I had one more thing to do. I wanted to finalize the divorce before my next trip to country F. I wasn't quite sure why Shin Yu-chu and Han Ziamu ended up having such an ugly falling out. I didn't want to understand the conflict between them. I just didn't expect that so suddenly I would meet Han Zimo again. It was at a charity banquet. I entered with my boss, Jack. As soon as I stepped into the hall, I saw Han Zimo trailing beside a woman. His face was haggard, but he still maintained the air of a rich young master. But the moment he saw me, anger made him lose his mind. A piercing shout echoed through the hall. Chen Zihan, why are you here? In an instant, everyone's eyes turned to him. And consequently, the woman beside him also became the center of gossip. The woman's name was Feng Linlin, a notoriously promiscuous socialite. What circulated most in their circles were the tabloid stories about her and her group of degenerate friends as the young master carefully groomed by the Han family, Han Zimo. Originally, even in a marriage alliance, had enough capital to choose his partner, but because of the scandal he had 2 years ago, although there was no shortage of open-minded players among the wealthy, those were all matters within their own circles. But Han Zimo's scandal was known to almost everyone. The only path left for Han Zimo was a marriage alliance, so he could only be forced to accept the choice his father made for him. People from the same disgraced circles. Young ladies, because as long as their reputations didn't affect the two families' cooperation, they would still be profitable. But Han Zimo, who was once in the spotlight, how could he accept such an outcome? He argued with his father. He argued with Feng Linlin. Seeing him grow older by the day, Feng Linlin became unusually domineering. Before, he couldn't find anyone to vent his anger on, so he could only swallow his pride. But now, seeing me looking so radiant, he could no longer hold back the anger in his heart. Before I could even speak, Feng Linlin, her face full of shame from the gossip, landed a slap right on his face. What are you making such a scene for? Where are your Han family's manners? His wife suddenly made things difficult. Others around were gossiping and pointing fingers, and Zemo raised his head. Aggrieved. What met his eyes was me. With an expression of watching a good show, he lost his temper and rushed towards me, raising his hand to hit me. But I took a step back, and before he could react, I slapped him. Han Zemo. Do you really think him that easy to bully? Han Zemo was stunned by the slap. In his impression, I was the very definition of weak. He snatched Shin Yu-chu, semi-post that only I could see. Yet I never had any reaction. I only dared to digest the grievances alone, and even had to pretend not to care in front of him. And if I truly didn't care, why would I have left silently? And why would I have deliberately left those things behind? To make Shin Yu-chu break up with him so fiercely, causing him to fall into such a state. But now I actually dared to hit him. The more he thought about it, the more he couldn't believe it. His face became more ferocious. You piece of trash. You dare to hit me. He'll kill you. But the next second, he was knocked to the ground by a kick. Following that was a clear voice. This word, trash, I think it suits you a bit better, because knowing the other person was married, and yet you still shamelessly clung to them. That was you. Isn't that right? Han Zemo sat sprawled on the ground, looking at the woman before him. Utterly astonished was Song Lin too. He immediately became even more furious. Why did this guy make Shen Yu-chu pine for him endlessly, and then turn around and latch onto the young lady of the Song group? He didn't dare get angry at Song Lin too. He could only direct his anger at me again, but just as he was about to open his mouth, Feng Linlin immediately stepped forward. Haven't you lost enough face? Hurry up and get back from me. After saying that, ignoring Han Zemo's struggles, she apologized to us and dragged him out of the hall. Seeing the troublemaker leave, the fun was over, but seeing the crowd around us also disperse, Song Linto scanned me up and down to see if I was hurt. Only then did she breathe a sigh of relief. Not bad. You're not hurt. You didn't embarrass my Song Linto. I helplessly rolled my eyes at her. Even if I lost face, I don't think it would be your Miss Song's face to lose. Would it? She shook her head in disapproval. You're the man I have my eye on. If you got hurt, other people would definitely say it's because I'm not capable of protecting the person by my side. As the two of us were talking, suddenly a figure forcefully squeezed between us. Shin Yu-chu, who was never interested in such parties, had arrived quite late. When the commotion happened over here, she had just arrived, and because I was surrounded by people, she didn't see me, so she didn't come over. It wasn't until Han Zemo was dragged away, and the onlookers had all dispersed, that she realized I was one of the people involved in the dispute just now. She wanted to come find me, but with just one glance, she saw Song Linto and I acting intimately. Jealousy flared up in an instant, causing her not even have time to think, before she pushed her way in. But as soon as she appeared, my smiling face suddenly darkened. What did you come over for? Shin Yu-chu's face was full of indignation. She looked at Song Linto warily. Zihan, what's your relationship with her? What? I said coldly, taking a few steps back. Stay away from me. My voice was also tinged with impatience. What my relationship is with her has what to do with you. As I spoke, I seemed to remember something suddenly. I scoffed. I forgot. We're not divorced yet. You already tore up the last divorce agreement. Tomorrow, I'll have someone draft another one and send it to you. Remember to sign it. Upon hearing my words, Shin Yu-chu couldn't help but her eyes redden. Zihan, I truly know I was wrong. Can you give me one more chance? While we were talking here, on the other side, Song Linto had already stuck to my side again. She even deliberately put on a voice to taunt Shen Yu-chu. Zihan, she's so fierce. I'm so scared. The fake voice rang in my ears. In front of me was Shen Yu-chu, who was about to go mad with anger. I didn't want to stay in the same place as Shen Yu-chu any longer. I turned and glared at Song Lin too, then promptly turned and left. I came here with Jack on a mission. Not to fool around with them. See me leave. Song Linto also hurried to follow my footsteps. I didn't stop her, but when Shen Yu-chu also wanted to follow, I turned back and looked at her with disgust. Don't pester someone to the point of being disgusting. One sentence made Shen Yu-chu stop in her tracks. She still didn't want to give up on me, and she didn't want to make me disgusted with her. The next day, I had my lawyer bring the newly drafted divorce agreement to find Shen Yu-chu. She took it and immediately tore it up, but the lawyer immediately took out another copy. It's all right. Yeah? Chen predicted you would tear it up. He specifically told me to prepare a few extra copies so you could tear them to your heart's content. Shen Yu-chu looked at the divorce agreement placed before her again. Her right hand unconsciously went to her left hand, stroking the wedding ring on her ring finger. Afterward, she found the wedding ring she had abandoned. Mine. It didn't fit her, so she strung it on a chain and made it into a necklace. She still stubbornly believed that one day, that ring would return its original owner's hand, but she didn't know that once someone decides to leave, it's forever. Have him come talk to me himself. Otherwise, I want some. The two faced each other at a standoff for a long time. In the end, it was the lawyer who called me to ask for my opinion. We still ended up deciding to meet and talk 2 days later. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye. The meeting place was chosen by Shen Yu-chu. She chose a couple's restaurant that we used to frequent the most when we were married. Revisiting an old place, it would be a lie to say I felt nothing at all. But what I wanted to do most right now was still to get Shen Yu-chu to sign the divorce agreement quickly. Sitting down at the reserved table, I got straight to the point. I took a divorce agreement from my pocket and placed it in front of her, sparing my words. Sign it. She looked at the divorce agreement that had been pushed in front of her for the countless times. She stared blankly until a teardrop fell. My urging voice rang out. Are there any other problems? If not, then sign it quickly. She looked up at me, her voice filled with sobs. Zihan, I know I didn't treat you well. I was stupid. I didn't see my own heart clearly. Even I don't know when exactly I truly fell for you. With Henzimo, it was just an obsession from my youth of wanting what I couldn't have. I really know I was wrong. Zihan, can you give me one more chance? I promise. I will absolutely never make the same mistake again. Let's go back to how we were before. Weren't those days good? She spoke earnestly, but I remained unmoved. They weren't good. Shen Yu-chu, time will not turn back. The hurt will not be reset. The fact that you cheated will not change. We will never go back to before. I felt no stirrings whatsoever for what she called going back to before, because her before was my wholehearted devotion, her feigned tenderness, and her occasional perfunctory gestures. The look of loving someone cannot be hidden. But before, when she looked at me, there was no love in her eyes. Shen Yu-chu closed her eyes in pain. A moment later, she suddenly remembered something. A glimmer of hope flashed in her eyes. You once promised me that you would always be by my side, that you wouldn't abandon me. She thought that by bringing up this promise, I would agree to stay. But instead, she saw me scoff, a mocking smile on my face. A promise. Shen Yu-chu, have you forgotten? I was never the only one who made promises. When we got married, didn't you also promise me that you would forget Hen Ziaimu and live a good life with me? But what happened after that? Did you do it? You couldn't even keep your own promise. On what grounds do you demand that others keep theirs? Shen Yu-chu's face suddenly turned pale. It seemed that only at this moment did she finally understand that I would never forgive her, but she still stubbornly shook her head, her eyes full of defiance. I will not sign any divorce agreement. Zihan, I won't let go like this. Since you're already so disgusted with me anyway, what does it matter if you're a little more disgusted? As long as I can keep you by my side, I can be a shameless person and pester you. The moment the words left her mouth, I stood up straight away. Since Shen doesn't want to settle this amicably, then we'll see each other in court. Shen Yu-chu wasn't afraid of going to court. I knew divorce cases nowadays aren't so easy to rule on. At the very least, I needed to prove that our feelings had broken down. She still loved me. How could our feelings be considered broken down? Zihan, you are mine, and you can only be mine. I was already far away. I didn't hear her say this. Even if I had heard it, I would only have felt nauseated. At this moment, I just felt incredibly lucky that my heart had long since died for her. I would no longer hold out any hope for her. I had already prepared to fight a divorce lawsuit with Shen Yu-chu. It would indeed be very complicated. This was also the reason why I initially chose to negotiate amicably with Shen Yu-chu, to have her sign the divorce agreement. Now that she was unwilling to cooperate, I wouldn't be afraid of the trouble either. After consulting with my lawyer, I began to prepare the necessary documents regarding the evidence of Shen Yu-chu's affair. It had happened quite a long time ago. It would be very difficult to gather evidence, but who asked the main character of this affair to be the once famous principal ballet dancer of the Qingdiao Theater, Henzimo, who asked Shen Yu-chu in her revenge against Hanzimo back then, to make such a big fuss about this matter. Although back then, the Shen family removed Shen Yuchu from the matter, but because the male lead in this story lost his job because of it, a person who knows they are the third party is naturally detestable, but a married woman who flirts with another man and then tries to shirk responsibility after things blow up, using her family's background to hide herself in this story. How could this woman not be despicable? I looked up all the news related to the incident that year. I dug it all up, just like how I had met with a lawyer before going abroad to draft a divorce agreement with the evidence, and the many times over the past 2 years I requested a divorce. I listed them all out and gave them to the lawyer I entrusted. This time, I want to cut ties with her completely. The lawyer received the documents I sent and confidently promised me that these documents were enough. This divorce lawsuit would definitely help me win beautifully. At that time, I wouldn't even need to appear myself. After I handed over the entire divorce matter to the lawyer, all that was left was work. Zihan, you're back this time. If you don't want to go to country F anymore, staying in the country is fine too. The company has recently developed a new division that will be spun off. Having you come back this time was also for this matter. If you stay, you can directly take over the subsidiary. Jack's offer actually moved me. This is my motherland. After all, I would naturally be very happy to stay in the country, but staying in country F would be more helpful for me. If I take over the subsidiary, the things that need to be responsible for would also be more numerous. I don't have experience in this area. I don't dare to be too greedy. Besides, after splitting my energy, the time I could dedicate to design would be less. So after long consideration, I still opened my mouth and replied, let me consider it a bit more. It's right to consider it carefully. The subsidiary can't wait too long. Jack wasn't surprised by my decision. He paused for a moment and then continued. How about this? I'll give you 3 months. You can try getting a feel for it first. After 3 months, give me your final answer. If you decide to return to country F, I'll arrange for someone to take over from you. I accepted this offer. Exactly 3 months is also enough time for my divorce lawsuit to be settled. Just as I walked out of the company, I saw Song Linto waiting at the door. As soon as she saw me come out, she waved her hand frantically. I was a little surprised. What are you doing here? Is the young miss of the Song family this idle? Besides, it's not closing time yet. How did you know I was about to leave? But she mysteriously only said 2 words to me. Secret. I scoffed. I didn't care about her pretending to be secretive. It's just that when she drove me home, looking at her back as she was about to leave, I suddenly spoke up. I probably won't be going to country F anymore. The departing figure suddenly stopped. She stopped in her tracks and turned to look at me. Her eyes were filled with surprise. If you looked closely, you could also see a hint of disappointment. Have you thought it through? Jack gave me an offer. I'm not certain yet, but I was originally from. I grew up here. I shook my head. I looked around, taking in the surrounding scenery. If I can stay, I'd naturally prefer to stay here. I was born and raised on this land. This will always be my home, but Song Linto is different. The Song family's main business is all overseas. Her parents and grandparents are also all overseas. She will probably still return to country F eventually. When Song Linto left, her expression wasn't very good. I knew why she was unhappy. During those 2 years abroad, when I was in an unfamiliar place, she helped me a great deal. She followed me from abroad to back home to support me and help me avoid a lot of trouble. Even when she found out I wasn't divorced yet, she helped me find a lawyer and even said she could bear the grievance of waiting for me to get a divorce. Thinking of this, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. If the Song family knew her thoughts, they would probably fly back to the country and break her legs. I didn't know yet that on the day Song Linto said those words, the Song family's driver had already reported it back. The sharp words simply stunned the entire Song family. Within a few days, old Master Song bought a plane ticket and flew to the country, and indeed gave Song Linto a good scolding. My divorce lawsuit with Shen Yuchu went to trial a month later. The case was won very easily. I didn't even need a second hearing. I got the verdict I wanted. The moment I got the divorce papers, I just felt a sense of relief all over my body. This was probably the most carefree day I'd had in the past 2 years. The obsession in my heart could finally be let go. From now on, I absolutely no relationship with that woman anymore. After settling things with Shen Yuchu, I ultimately still chose to stay in the country and take over the subsidiary. I originally thought that after our last conversation, Song Linto wouldn't look for me anymore. Who knew that on my first official day in the position, Song Linto still came to find me? She said, "Oh my, so sad. This young lady is so good to you, and yet on such a big happy day, such a joyous occasion, you didn't even tell me." Song Linto blocked my path and pretended to wipe away tears sadly. I took 2 steps back, escaping the area covered by her shadow. I tilted my head and didn't look at her. In a place she couldn't see, a blush appeared on my face. But even if I didn't tell you, didn't you find your way here anyway? You inviting me, and me finding my own way here. How could they be the same? Zihan, you have to properly compensate my wounded heart. See me turn back with wide eyes. The heat on my face hadn't completely subsided. Song Linto got a playful idea and pinched my cheek. I'm very thin. There's no flesh on my face, so pinching it didn't feel very good. See my face full of dissatisfaction. She let go and laughed. How about this? You have a meal with me. Consider it your apology. This wasn't an excessive request. Song Linto had helped me so much. I really did need to treat her to a meal. To thank her, I nodded, agreeing to her suggestion. Seeing me nod, Song Linto visibly cheered up. She clamored that since I was treating her, then she had to be the one to choose the restaurant, since it already agreed to one request. I didn't insist on this point, so I just went along with her. It's just that when we arrived at the chosen restaurant, I realized she had chosen a couple's restaurant. I was embarrassed. I glanced at her, but saw that she looked completely unconcerned. I wanted to speak but stopped several times. In the end, I still didn't say anything, but I didn't see Song Linto walking ahead of me. The corner of her mouth quietly curved into a smile. We followed the waiter's lead to the private room that had been booked. Not long after sitting down, the waiter began to serve the dishes. I was embarrassed again, seeing her raise an eyebrow at me. I knew it was her, who had already ordered the food when booking the restaurant. Looking again at the dishes on the table, they were all to my taste. My expression froze, and I had a complicated feeling in my heart. She was really very good to me, but her kindness, it seemed I could only let her down in the end. While I was lost in thought, the waiter had finished serving the last dish, holding a dessert, with a standard smile on his face. "Sir, ma'am, our store has a special event today. You are the 520th couple to dine at our store today. This is a dessert from the store for our 2 lucky customers. Please enjoy." I came back to my senses, just in time to hear the waiter's 2 words, "couple." I hurriedly wanted to explain, but Song Linto on the other side had already accepted the waiter's words. "Well, thank you very much." The waiter smiled and nodded and retreated from the private room. I turned my head, about to say something, and saw her face full of joy, smiling with satisfaction. She even picked up the dessert the waiter had just given us, which was heart-shaped, and held it out in front of me. "Try it. This restaurant's dessert isn't bad." Seeing this, I couldn't help but look a little annoyed. "You did this on purpose." Song Linto shrugged, with a "you've wronged me" look, and came closer to me again. "Zihan, how can you think of me like that? It really makes one sad." I shivered. Her words gave me goosebumps. I took a piece of dessert from the plate and stuffed it into her mouth. "Just eat." But this matter was considered over. After the meal was finished, the 2 of us walked out of the restaurant one after another. Song Linto said she would go get the car. I watched her back as she left, lost in a daze. Just then, a figure suddenly appeared in front of me. I looked closely and realized the person who suddenly appeared was Shen Yu. Her eyes were filled with pain. She reached out to grab my hand, but what she said was an accusation. "Zihan, you insist on divorcing me. Is it because of her?" I pulled my hand back in disgust and looked at Shen Yu incredulously. "Do you have no self-awareness at all? Why do I want to divorce you? Do you really not know? Why are you dragging someone else into this? I just made a mistake that all women make. Why won't you forgive me?" But it was as if she couldn't understand human speech. She tried to grab my hand again. "Zihan, give me one more chance. I promise you, I will definitely treat you well. You clearly loved me so much before. How can you just leave like that and refuse to give me a chance?" The moment her hand reached out again, I took a big step back, putting distance between us. "Mess. Shen, please have some self-respect." This time, there was only coldness in my eyes as I looked at her. "If you touch me again, even if you are a woman, I won't hesitate to call the police and have you invited to the station for a cup of tea. I just don't know. If Miss Shen causes another scandal, if the Shen family can still help you suppress the heat, if the situation is serious, I also don't know if this time, Shen will still be able to keep her position." My words were ruthless enough, and enough to make her stop in her tracks. Shen Yu's face was still full of pain, but she didn't dare take another half step forward, because she knew, with my current attitude towards her, I would absolutely do what I said. Just then, Song Linto also drove up. She took one look at Shen Yu's heartbroken expression and scoffed. "Some people don't know how to cherish their husband when they have one. They insist on fooling around outside. Wait until they lose their husband, then they cry and scream regret here." Seeing Shen Yu's face grow darker and darker, Song Linto averted her gaze, no longer paying attention to Shen Yu, but looked at me. "Zihan, get in the car. Quick, it'll take you home." I didn't care what Shen Yu's expression was or what she was thinking. I walked past her to the car, pulled open the car door, and once inside, told Song Linto to hurry and drive. I only heard a yes. "Sir." The car sped away, leaving Shen Yu with only a mouthful of exhaust fumes. Shen Yu couldn't help but cough a few times, watching us gradually disappear into the traffic. Her face was filled with resentment. But why? I didn't even make any big mistake. I was just a little distracted during the marriage. I didn't even cross the line. Why won't he forgive me? She couldn't understand, and there was no one to give her the answer. She stubbornly held on to the thoughts in her heart, never once thinking she was at fault. But now, even the marriage certificate, the only connection between us, was severed by my ruthlessness. It seemed she no longer had any reason to approach me, and 3 days later, something that would make her collapse even more happened. Song Linto and I were together. Shen Yu looked at the photo sent to her phone from a strange number. Her eyes immediately turned red. The photo was clearly of me and Song Linto kissing passionately. Time went back to 3 days ago. Song Linto drove me home, but didn't leave. I was also a little puzzled. Today, all of Song Linto's words and actions seemed strange. Clearly, on that day, I had said that I might stay in the country in the future, and her expression as she left was as if she was telling me that she was going to give up on me. But today, whether it was her sudden appearance or her deliberate indulgence in the romantic atmosphere at the restaurant, everything conveyed a message to me. It seemed she hadn't given up hope, but that day, I hadn't even confirmed whether I would ultimately stay or leave, and she was so disappointed. So why, now that I've decided to stay, has she been reborn from the ashes? I voiced my doubt, and she looked at me with a face full of disbelief. Zihan, you're not trying to lead me on and then abandon me, are you? The moment she said this, I was the one who was surprised. Songlinto, don't just randomly pin labels on me. When have I ever led you on and then abandoned you? I said the things I did for you were found out by my family. They flew here from abroad and even forcefully gave me a beating. They even said if I can't openly and honorably pursue you, they won't even let me come back home anymore. Zihan, do you have the heart to let me wander the streets? She looked at me pitifully, her eyes filled with a pitiful message. But I didn't believe her. I looked at Song Lin too. My eyes conveyed only two words. Don't believe. Even if they don't let you go home, I don't believe you don't have other properties. Even if you can't go to those places, you're so rich, you could casually find any hotel and stay very comfortably. Seeing that I didn't believe her, she started explaining again. They took my keys and froze my bank cards. If you don't want to take me in, I really can only sleep on the streets. Zihan, how can you be so cruel? Actually, at this point, I pretty much knew her real intentions. I couldn't help but become serious. I looked at her very seriously and made it clear and said to her, Linto, I told you last time, I will be staying in the country from now on, but you will eventually return to country F. Before I could finish my sentence, I saw Song Linto suddenly laugh. Zihan, you don't need to worry about these things. My grandpa already said, the Song family's business is mainly overseas. That's right, but it doesn't mean there's none in the country. Besides, he's old now. He originally had thoughts of returning to the country anyway. The old want to have their leaves fall back to their roots. So now all your worries are resolved. You can accept me now. Right, time returns to 3 days later, seeing the two of them go public. Shin Chu was about to go crazy with jealousy. She couldn't believe it no matter what, that I was actually with someone else. No matter what she thought, she couldn't change the fact that Song Linto and I were not only really together. This news even made it to the papers. Along with this news spreading, there was also news that the Song family seemed to intend to expand into the domestic market. At this critical juncture, one could guess what the Song family's actions were for. Therefore, under this hot news, netizens discussed it enthusiastically, crying out, so sweet, what a beautiful love. So jealous, when will I ever encounter a plot like this? To the person above, I advise you to go to sleep quickly. It's faster to dream. Did I stumble into some kind of idle drama plot? Jealous. All sorts of comments filled the screen. The vast majority were jokes and blessings. There was only one message that had just been sent, full of malice. Just got divorced and already climbing into a rich family. Who knows what tricks he used, but very quickly, without even needing Song Linto to step in, the commenter was viciously attacked by others, deleted the comment, and ran. Even the account was deleted. The netizens handled it too quickly, leaving Song Linto with a breath of anger she couldn't vent. She looked at me with a disgruntled face. I couldn't help but laugh out loud, but as soon as I saw her resentful gaze turn to me, I quickly retracted my smile. She pouted and turned her head away from me, muttering softly, "Who am I getting so angry for? Anyway, and you're laughing at me, you heartless man." Hearing her resentful words, I pinched her cheek and only let go when she glared at me. I said seriously, All right, it's just a sentence through a screen. It's not like I lost a piece of flesh. Besides, didn't the netizens already help me curse back? The netizens are still very rational, because the Song family started expanding into the domestic market. Song Linto also started to get busy. She could no longer be like before, always keeping track of my schedule. But because of this, during a conversation, I learned from Jack that the reason she always appeared at the right time before was because she had bribed Jack. I almost laughed in anger, and she even pretended to be mysterious with me. Turns out she was using money magic. When she gets back, I must teach her a good lesson. How dare she stalk me? On the other end, Jack's voice held a hint of a smile, as he said, Then don't tell her I told you. Otherwise, you'll be earning less money in the future. That afternoon, I got off work. I didn't see Song Linto, but I saw someone unexpected, Shin Chu. I frowned, looking at the fully disguised woman in front of me. I subconsciously took a step back. What are you here for again? Shin Chu didn't answer my question. Her attitude was hard to read. She only said one thing, Zihan, is there really no possibility for us anymore? Seeing that she still hadn't given up hope, I was too lazy to say anything more to her. I had said words of rejection countless times, but she was always like a stubborn plaster that couldn't understand human speech. Living in her own world, continuing to talk to her would just be like playing a lute to a cow. I walked past her and headed towards my parking spot, but I hadn't taken more than a few steps when I suddenly smelled a strong foul odor. A sense of unease rose in my heart. I quickened my pace and walked to my car, unlocked and opened the car door in one go. Just as I was about to relax, a wave of dizziness hit me. I collapsed weakly. Before losing consciousness, I struggled to stay conscious for one last look, and what I saw was a determined look in Shen Yuchus' eyes. Zihan, why won't you listen? A few hours later, I finally woke up. As I looked around, the familiar furniture told me this was our marital room. The difference from when I left 2 years ago was she had, following her memories, bought back some of the things I had thrown away. To complete the set, seeing that I was awake, the woman's voice sounded by my ear. Zihan, look, this room, isn't it exactly the same as when we first moved in? You really threw a lot of things away back then. It wasn't easy to buy some of them back. I searched for a long time to finally buy everything back. She spoke to herself, then suddenly remembered something. She took the ring she wore around her neck and grabbed my hand. Ignoring my resistance, she put the ring on my finger. I got this wedding ring back too. Zihan, don't leave me again this time. Okay, I had been drugged. Although I was awake now, my head was still dizzy, but the moment Shen Yuchu touched me, a feeling of nausea rose in my stomach. I subconsciously wanted to break free, but my limbs were weak. I still couldn't resist Shen Yuchu's grip. Hearing her words, I couldn't hold it back anymore and just vomited outright. My reaction made Shen Yuchu's face darken. Do you despise me that much? But Zihan, you clearly loved me so much before. You loved me for so long. Why can't you love me a little longer? After vomiting, my mind finally cleared and my strength returned a bit. I forcefully pulled my hand away from her, my face full of disbelief. Shen Yuchu, you're insane. What you're doing is illegal. Do you know that? She just sneered indifferently. Yes, I am insane. Then she looked at me lying on the bed with a deeply affectionate expression. Zihan, I really can't be without you. I used to think the person I loved was Zimu. That's why I was so detached for his sake. But Zihan, when I found out you had left me, the pain in my heart told me that I had actually fallen in love with you long ago. Back when Han Zimo left me to go abroad, I wasn't this heartbroken. Zihan, I truly know I was wrong. Can you forgive me? I sat up from the bed and kept backing away, avoiding her hands as she tried to touch me. Then with a slap, I slapped her hard across the face. Shen Yuchu, what face do you have to ask for forgiveness? I used to love you, but as you said, that was in the past. Not now. You didn't cherish it when I loved you. Your heart and eyes were filled with your first love. For him, you were even willing to abandon your professional ethics. After I left, you say you love me. I don't think so. You love me? I doubt it. What you're doing now is just your unwillingness to accept this and your shattered pride acting up. You're just unwilling to be abandoned by your parents, by the person you love, by me, the person you used to think would never leave you. But you're so pathetic. The more someone loves you, the less you care. The more someone wants to leave you, the more you want to hold on. That's right, Shen Yuchu. No one will wait for you forever. Look, even your own parents didn't want you, who gave you the confidence to think that someone would never be able to leave you. I was with Shen Yuchu from the age of 15 to 27, a full 12 years. She was once the most important part of my life. So naturally, I also know where to stick the knife to make her hurt the most. My words were merciless, and they truly stabbed Shen Yuchu where it hurt. Her eyes were bloodshot. She had completely lost her senses. Shen Yuchu lunged forward recklessly, wanting to restrain me. But as soon as she got close to me, I casually grabbed a vase from behind me and smashed it hard against her head. With a thud, the vase shattered from the force, followed by porcelain shards scattering onto the ground. The intense pain shocked her nerves. She raised her hand to wipe it. The spot where she was hit felt sticky. She brought her hand in front of her face, and it was covered in blood. In her pain, her senses returned. Seeing me still holding a shard of the vase pointed at her, she laughed miserably. You hurt me again, as if not expecting me to suddenly hit her. Her heart was a desolate wasteland. Looking at me warily, she fell silent and didn't speak anymore. She turned and went to the door, locking it, completely isolating my figure in the room. As the sound of the lock clicking echoed, her voice came through the door. Zihan, it doesn't matter if you hate me. It doesn't matter how you provoke me. It doesn't matter that you hurt me. It'll give you time to calm down. I won't let you leave. Zihan, you have to believe me. I really can't be without you. Inside the room, I ignored her words. I frantically searched the room. I can stay here forever. I have to escape. I wonder if Song Lintao has noticed him missing yet. Is she worried? I have to get back quickly. Can't let Song Lintao worry. On the other side, as soon as Song Lintao was free, she immediately called Jack. When she learned I had left work for home, she quickly finished up her work and rushed home. But when she got home, the house was completely silent. There was no sound. Not even the lights were on. The silence made her suddenly panic. She searched every room. No one was there. She checked the home security camera and discovered I hadn't come home at all. The unease in her heart grew stronger. Song Lintao took out her phone. First, she called me until the call went unanswered. She hung up and started calling again, but time and time again, no one on the other end picked up. She called Jack again, confirming that I had left on time and had left the company building. They were both worried. the two of them called the police. After a long hassle, they finally found the answer in the underground parking garage. Watching the security footage of me being sprayed with a drug and a woman taking me away after I passed out, the police were also on alert. One police officer remarked, so brazenly in broad daylight, they really don't take us seriously. Then they started analyzing the information in the video. From the camera footage, this woman probably knows Chen, although there's no dialogue between them. Judging from Chen's body language, is probably very familiar with her, but probably someone he dislikes quite a bit. As soon as this description was given, Song Lintao immediately thought of Shen Yuchu. With this information, the search became much simpler. Shen Yuchu didn't have many properties in her name, and she frequented even fewer of them recently. A simple check revealed that she had returned to the house she always lived in, and she didn't even try to hide the fact that she was helping me. So, not long after Shen Yuchu finished bandaging her head wound, the doorbell rang. She paused in the middle of putting away the first aid kit and looked up towards the door. The doorbell kept ringing relentlessly, as if certain that she was home, and they wouldn't give up until she opened it. Shen Yuchu got up, walked to the door, and opened it. The moment she saw it was the police, she didn't panic at all. "Officers, you're looking for me. Is something wrong?" Her attitude was natural. If the police hadn't seen her drug someone with their own eyes and take them away, they might have doubted themselves and wondered if they had the wrong person. The police officer took out his badge and showed it to Shen Yuchu, then pointed to the body camera he was wearing. Shen Yuchu, mess. Shen? Correct. Seeing the woman in the doorway nod, he continued to ask, "It's like this, we received a police report today. That more." Chen suddenly disappeared. "I wonder if you have any clues." As he spoke, one officer's gaze landed on her bandaged head. He asked, "How did you get that injury? Are you okay?" Shen Yuchu's gaze on Song Lintao, who was following the police, swept past. She smiled and shook her head. "I didn't see him today, so I don't have any clues. As for the wound on my head, I'm a doctor. There was a dispute at the hospital today. Something was thrown at me, but it's been taken care of." "It's nothing." The two police officers looked at each other, unable to help but admire the composure of the person before them. Truly worthy of being a doctor, the officer continued, asking a few more questions. Shen Yuchu answered them all fluently. Seeing that the police didn't seem to have any more issues, and stopped asking questions, she let out a sigh of relief inwardly, and even glanced smugly at Song Lintao. Just then, a sudden noise came from inside the house, like something falling. Shen Yuchu's face stiffened. The two officers and Song Lintao immediately burst through the door, and ran towards the source of the sound. At this point, how could Shen Yuchu not understand? The moment the sound was made, the police didn't even ask another question, they just ran straight in. The police knew she did it from the start. Her expression turned ugly. She clenched her hands into fists, but she also knew she couldn't keep me today, and with her earlier statement, she was afraid she would be in big trouble. Shen Yuchu didn't think any further. Seeing their attention was on the inner room, she turned and ran for the door, wanting to leave first, but as soon as she ran out the door, she collided with the officer waiting outside. Shen Yuchu was pinned down on the spot. Inside, the three officers and Song Lintao helped me up and walked out together. Because she was caught red-handed, Shen Yuchu was taken to the police station and detained. After Song Lintao and I gave our statements, we went home together. I was very quiet the whole way, until the moment we finally got home. I hugged Song Lintao tightly. "Lintao, I thought I'd never see you again." Song Lintao had rarely seen me like this. She hugged me back compassionately. Her voice was also filled with fear. "Is sorry. I was too late in finding you." After a long while, my emotions finally stabilized. "How did you guys find me?" I wasn't too surprised that they found me. What was strange was that it seemed when they came looking, they had already determined that Shen Yuchu had taken me. On one hand, they arranged for someone to create a diversion at the front, while arranging for someone to rescue me from the back. Such a perfect plan didn't seem like it was based on suspicion. Song Lintao scoffed. Her eyes were filled with contempt and ridicule for Shen Yuchu. That idiot acted so brazenly when she left. It'd be hard not to know it was her. At first, seeing her so arrogant, I thought she had lost her mind and was prepared to use force. That's why the police station sent so many people. But it turned out she was still trying to hide it when the police questioned her. Then I knew she was just simply stupid. I didn't think the police would mobilize so many people. For this reason, I couldn't help but feel awkward. But at that moment, I was also a little angry inside. Her stupid behavior, and I still fell for it. It really shouldn't have happened. Perhaps seeing what I was thinking, she smiled slightly. "Well, who would have thought that a seemingly sane person could do something so insane? It's normal not to expect it. Besides, you realized it later, didn't you? You just didn't have time to avoid it." I accepted this explanation, but after a while, I sighed again. The Shen family won't get her out again this time. Will they? If she gets out, won't I have to live in fear every day? Song Lintao comforted me. "It's okay. This time the evidence is solid. She was even caught in the act. If the Shen family wants to save her, they'd have to use her mental state as an excuse. But if they dare, I can make sure she spends the rest of her life in a mental hospital. Besides, if the Shen family wants to protect Shen Yuchu, they'll have to see if my Song family agrees. Do you think the Shen family would, for a daughter they've already abandoned once, go and provoke the Song family? Hearing Song Lintao's explanation, I finally relaxed. A few months later, Shen Yuchu's verdict came down. She was sentenced to 2 years in prison. Because of the Song family's intervention, the Shen family didn't dare to act. Just as Song Lintao had said, the Shen family saw no need to, for a daughter they had already abandoned once, provoke the Song family. The last time the Shen family intervened, it was because as long as they could protect her, the Shen family could still have a famous daughter living outside. This time, even if they acted, she couldn't return to her former position. A daughter with no more value to exploit could naturally be abandoned at will. The person who once hated being abandoned the most ended up being the one abandoned by everyone. This time, without the Shen family to manage the public opinion for her, everything she had ever done was exposed. In an instant, she became infamous. Even Jing'an Hospital, which had covered for her, had its reputation affected. 1 year later, Song Lintao and I held a grand wedding. Old Master Song and Song Lintao's parents all flew back from abroad. Jack, as the only groomsman invited by the groom, was busy running off his feet. When he finally got a break, he looked at me with a resentful face. I was your old boss. After all. All right, now you're the boss of a subsidiary, ordering me around like this. I laughed sheepishly. Hey, it's just because you're my only good friend, and I treat you the best. Jack shuddered and mercilessly pushed me away. All right, these little tricks of yours, save them for your family. This grand wedding was talked about for a long time. It instantly became the talk of the town, and in a corner no one cared about, the infamous Shen Yuchu, released from prison, held an old broken phone, watching my face, full of happiness, on the news. As I walked towards another woman, she couldn't help but tear up. Clearly, such happiness should have belonged to her, but she personally lost the boy who loved her most. From that moment on, happiness would forever have nothing to do with her. The only thing she could do was hide in a dark corner and silently watch the man in her heart hold another's hand for the rest of his life.